The time goes back to the 15th century. In 1467, after the Ronin War, Japan entered an era of civil strife. During this period, there was no overwhelming power in Japan, and the daimyo across the country were engaged in large-scale battles aiming for the unification of Japan and their own survival. In battles, there were, of course, both winners and losers. The losers faced harsh fates. The daimyo, the head of the family, would be killed, and their lineage would perish. Thus, the defeated samurai families were gradually eliminated. So, what happened to the samurai who served the defeated daimyo? When their lord was killed in battle and they lost their position, the samurai under them all became unemployed. Thus, samurai who lost their masters, their lands, and their jobs started to wander and eventually came to be known as Ronin. Ronin refers to the samurai who, having lost their masters, wander from place to place. Even though they had lost their official positions, Ronin were still samurai, so most of them lived with pride, adhering to the way of the samurai. However, with no income, some Ronin formed bands and engaged in robbery or started uprisings. Such activities led to deteriorating public order, which became a significant issue at the time. Additionally, some Ronin utilized their honed sword skills to become bodyguards for the Yakuza. Nevertheless, since this era was marked by constant warfare, small-scale conflicts frequently erupted across the country. As a result, daimyo needed manpower, and skilled Ronin could find new employment as combatants. There were various other reasons why a samurai might become a Ronin. Some became Ronin due to their own faults, such as committing crimes or failing in their duties, leading them to resign from their positions. Others, who were capable and ambitious, would voluntarily leave their lords if they were dissatisfied and travel in search of better opportunities. Similarly, daimyo were eager to acquire skilled Ronin, even offering better conditions to attract them. The strong connections among Ronin meant that if a daimyo managed to hire a prominent Ronin, they could mobilize many other Ronin as immediate reinforcements in times of need. During this period, it was common for samurai to become Ronin and move between different daimyo households, seeking better conditions, and some even rose to the rank of daimyo. A representative example is Akechi Mitsuhide, who ascended from being a Ronin to becoming the right-hand man of Oda Nobunaga, the foremost warrior in Japan at the time. In 1590, when Toyotomi Hideyoshi unified the country, the number of wars nationwide decreased. This drastically changed the situation surrounding the Ronin. The various daimyo families no longer needed to employ a large number of retainers. Concerned about uprisings and the deterioration of public order caused by the Ronin, Toyotomi Hideyoshi pressured them to abandon their samurai status and become farmers or engage in other occupations. In 1600, the Battle of Sekigahara broke out between the retainers of the Toyotomi clan, now without Hideyoshi, led by Ishida Mitsunari and Tokugawa Ieyasu. This battle was the largest in Japanese history, with daimyo from all over Japan dividing into the eastern and western armies. The scale of the battle was enormous, with over 220,000 soldiers combined from both sides. The result was a decisive victory for the Eastern Army, and the victorious Tokugawa Ieyasu unified the country and established the Edo shogunate. On the other hand, the defeated Western Army saw the destruction of 88 daimyo households. Even the daimyo who were not completely destroyed faced severe punishment. As a result, this battle created over 100,000 Ronin, the largest number of Ronin ever produced by a single battle. The increase in Ronin didn't stop there. Subsequently, many daimyo households continued to perish. At that time, the rules for inheritance of daimyo households were quite strict. If the head of the household died and had a legitimate male heir, there was no problem. But if there was no such heir, an adopted son had to be prepared in advance. The practice of hurriedly adopting a son because the lord was on his deathbed was prohibited. Thus, many daimyo households perished one after another. Even households that had existed for hundreds of years could fall quickly. Consequently, the number of Ronin continued to increase throughout the country. At the beginning of the Edo shogunate, the Toyotomi clan in Osaka was still intact, and the shogunate's foundation was not yet firmly established, leading to an unstable situation. Additionally, the presence of over 100,000 Ronin created by the Battle of Sekigahara was a cause for concern. There was a possibility that the Ronin might respond if anti-Tokugawa forces, including Toyotomi Hideyori, the head of the Toyotomi clan, rose up in rebellion. Many Ronin were forced into poverty and a day-to-day existence, leading some to become robbers or engage in street fighting, further deteriorating public order. The discontent of the Ronin towards the shogunate grew stronger by the day. I will talk about the life of Ronin in more detail in another video. From 1614 to 1615, the siege of Osaka took place. This was the final battle between Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi clan. This battle significantly changed the fate of the Ronin. Upon hearing news of the conflict, Ronin from all over the country flocked to Osaka Castle and sided with the Toyotomi clan. Their number is said to have reached 130,000. This was natural, as they had become Ronin due to the Tokugawa shogunate destroying their original houses. As a result, the military strength of Osaka Castle was significantly increased. However, it was predictable that this would happen, so why did the shogunate allow the Ronin to enter Osaka Castle freely? This was, in a way, part of the shogunate's strategy against the Ronin. They planned to eliminate the 100,000 Ronin by attacking and capturing Osaka Castle. Thus, through the winter campaign and summer campaign of Osaka, the shogunate emerged victorious. Osaka Castle was burned down, and Hideyori, the head of the Toyotomi clan, committed suicide, seppuku. On the losing Toyotomi side, a vast number of samurai, including Ronin, fled from Osaka Castle. The shogunate thoroughly carried out Ochimushagari, a hunt for the remnants to completely eliminate the rebels. Consequently, a large number of Ronin were killed. Even after the Tokugawa shogunate solidified its power, the number of Ronin continued to rise. Once powerful samurai, they inevitably lost their jobs as the country entered a peaceful era. The main differences between Ronin and townspeople at the time were the Ronin had surnames and were permitted to carry swords. Despite their samurai status, they had no work. Gradually, some Ronin abandoned their samurai status to become farmers or merchants, while others ventured to Southeast Asia on ships and became mercenaries. As time passed, the shogunate that lasted for 260 years collapsed in 1868. In 1871, the government implemented the policy of Shimin Byodo, 4 classes equal, treating farmers and townspeople as commoners. While the samurai were distinguished from commoners, their privileges were abolished. Thus, they quietly vanished from history.